Ashton Woods.
My name is Ashton B. Woods with Black Lives Matter Houston. This question is in reference to Senate Bill 273. Have you all been familiarized with it and looked at how it may
Tell us about
affect?
it, because when we look at 8,000 bills,
It's the bill our friend Senator Whitmire filed for ninth graders to learn how to deal with the police during their driver's ed. Has it been studied to see how it would affect LGBT youth, specifically black and brown LGBT homeless youth?
I think the best person to answer that is probably Senator Whitmire. I know he's not here, but you know what? One of the things Texas Southern University called Earl Institute. Earl Call. Thank you. He was voted by our professors.
He was a good professor.
They are doing research on this issue, but I don't know if are they specific on those issues that point that you have just raised, but that is real significant. Sarah Gitry is the person over there, and I think we should make more use of our universities because we have to pay for them, and we have to keep them funded, and they do a lot of research, and they can do a lot of more if we just ask them to do it.
Well, that's exactly why I'm asking. I'm actually working with the Overall Institute through Black Lives Matter Houston.
Good.
And we've been looking at that, but we haven't heard anything. And we've been reaching out to Senator Whitmire to know of that.
So good evening. My name is Melanie Espinosa-Pang, and I'm one of the co-chairs, along with Lou Weaver, of Mayor Turner's LGBTQ Advisory Board. And it's such a tremendous honor to be a part of an organization of 49 appointed board members. Yes, that's right, 49. An abnormally large board. I hope everyone knows this. But in it is the strength of the diversity of Houston, which means we have a variety of faiths, a variety of ages, of gender identities, and also immigrants, right? Immigrants from other countries as well as children of immigrants, and our concerns are all of these concerns. And so with the national rhetoric that happens, with the state legislative rhetoric that comes about, I guess what I'm concerned with is how we as residents of Houston can feel like we are making even just a ripple of a difference in what is happening. I'm mostly concerned about what we as residents can be doing to help elected officials do the right thing.
How can we in Houston help out in Austin?
I'll jump in real fast while they think. As a former staffer, I can say what helped me help my boss was really, a lot of people don't think this is true, but letter writing campaigns actually do help. Sometimes emails aren't the best way to do it, but I've given my boss, my former boss, a stack of letters that he was able to hold up in the committee and say, look at all the people from my district, they're against this. Like, how can I be for something that all these people are against? Another good example is you'll probably remember Senator Davis reading all these letters on the Senate floor several years ago. I mean, they use those, so you have to give them that ammunition. So it may seem trivial to you, but please actually compose a nice letter, explain your position, because if the senator or the representative's not reading it, I can guarantee that their policy staff is, because that's their job. And so they may read them all and then put it down to an executive summary for their bosses, but it is extremely useful to have that data from your actual constituents. With that being said, don't just take a copier to one letter and send your state senator or representative 500 copies of the same letter, because that's not useful. Try to make them specific.
And I would say email, for me, at least within my office, is the best way to communicate. And I read every single email that comes on my phone, every email that's sent to my state and my district mailbox, and then my staff enters all of this information into the constituent management software. And so every morning before we go to the floor, part of my floor packet is a report of who's contacted me regarding the bills that are on that calendar. So if I've had 25 constituents email me that they support a bill or oppose a bill, I'm going to know that when I walk onto the floor. And that is important, especially if, now, I don't think that anything coming out of the caucus is going to be non-controversial in the Texas House, but for some things that are non-controversial, but one person in my district happens to be an expert on some, something, I'll hear from them, and that will be why I vote for or against something. Because I had this constituent who explained to me they're a licensed whatever, and this is how this bill's going to affect them, and we act on it. So I think emailing is better than letters, but that's just my preference. And you can always call, but just keep in mind that during the legislative session, about half of the people that are working in the Capitol are unpaid interns, because we get a very limited amount of money to run our offices, at least on the House side. I don't know how much the Senate gets, probably a lot. But I'm teasing. But so literally half of everybody in the Capitol is our unpaid.
It's just a little bit more than they do, y'all.
So that's, some interns, some unpaid interns are better than others. And so those messages have been known sometimes to get lost. I would hear from a constituent who said, well, I called your office and we had no record of it. Well, if you have a 19-year-old student who's coming in once a week, it may not be as diligent as you would like. So that's why I always prefer an electronic copy, because that's a record that, I have.
Let me tell you something that would be useful also. You ought to have about 3 things that you really want to get done and work on those. And try to build coalitions on those 3 top issues that you are interested in. You can't cover the waterfront, because if you could, you would have done it. I would have, if I could have covered the waterfront with things I'm interested in, I would have done it. And work like hell to try to get them done, and work with everybody, every coalition that you could bend their ear to help you to get your 3 top issues done. Don't get disappointed and discouraged if you don't get it done that session. Let me give you an example. I was able to pass alimony in Texas. It took 20 years to get that done. I didn't start in 20 years. There was a group, there was a person who carried it, another person who carried it, and I carried it for the last several years. And they said, well, it never happened. And the interesting thing was the Speaker of the House had given a speech before the Chamber of Commerce and lunch that day. And he said, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. He said, we'll never have, not in this state, there'll never be alimony. Not in Texas. 2 hours later, I popped an amendment on a bill that said alimony. Got it done. But you have to be persistent. You cannot get discouraged. And you have to financially support people who support you. I know how hard it is to sell them dollars that is rusting in your pockets. But it takes that greed to get some stuff done too. You have to support people to support you, just like y'all went up there and gave Ted Cruz a big old reception, for his presidency. You got to help some Democrats who's been out here working their ass off to help you.
I just wanted to add one more thing, just a word of caution.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say all that.
I'm sure it's not being recorded or live tweeted.
If you can, stay away from the form letters. I know she mentioned it, but please try to stay away from those, because we can see that they're form letters. And then all we do is really just count how many form letters we got. I mean, at least, if you're going to copy and paste, at least take the first paragraph and make it your own. Because then at least the staff or the intern is looking at it, and it won't look the same, and maybe they'll read on. Because once we know it's a form letter, we just put it aside. Try to really tell the story. Try to tell the story of the child that you saw that got bullied. Try to tell the story of the friend that you know for a fact was denied housing. Try to get the story of the transgender person who would not be hired for a job or got fired from the job when they found out that they were transgender. I mean, tell a story, because that's what I look for. Wendy Davis wasn't just reading letters. There were stories of women that had been impacted by the lack of abortion services in the state, or some way, whether it was a sonogram bill, something. Because then that is, I prefer letters, I'm old school. Because then I can't take it to the floor in a committee hearing and read straight out of it. My eyesight is not as good as Sarah's, or her glasses are better, I don't know. But she can read her email, I prefer letters. Or take it one more step and write a nice piece of a letter to the editor. Because then I can say, as my constituent said in a letter to the editor of the Houston Chronicle, or write an op-ed piece. You know, amplify your voice, and you can do it simply by submitting something like that. Because that really helps us build our case. And you need to keep that in mind. What's going to help these 4 ladies that were here, well, 3 of us were in the session, but she's spreading the word, to help tell the story of why the bathroom bill is just not good for Texas. Okay? And make it your own.
And I would say whatever the issues are, too, keep in mind you can go to the Texas Legislature online website, set up an account, and you can track legislation. You can track bills. You can see every bill that's been filed. We get a lot of calls in our office. What's happening with House Bill 206? I'm like, look on the internet. But I can't say that, of course. But you can, sign up and you can get alerts to your email when a bill has been referred to a committee, or when it's getting the hearing, or when there's going to be a vote, or when it's in second reading. And keep in mind, we're dealing with thousands and thousands and thousands of bills. And each of us have our own bills that we're trying to get through the system. So those are our priorities, right? It's our legislation that we file. So, I like when I get an email from a constituent that says, hey, House Bill 406 just got placed on the calendar, and I don't like this bill because, or hey, House Bill 406 is getting a hearing in the committee. It's impossible for me to track personally every single bill and the movement of every single bill. But if it's important to you, you track it and then shoot us an email or a call and say, hey, this bill's moving and this is making me nervous. So I encourage people to sort of be your own advocate in a way, and the Texas Legislature online is filled with so much information. We run our offices off the Texas Legislature online website. That's how I know about when my bills are moving, is because my account sends me an alert. So you really, if you're really into a political junkie, go to that website and get an account and just look at the bills and start tracking bills. It's an interesting process, and you will really know what's going on.
I want to say this right quick. A lot of times, you cannot come up to Austin and do testifying. It's critical. But we have the ability to Skype you in right here in Houston. A lot of committee chairs don't like to do that. But it's your money, they put it up there, so we ought to be able to use it. So you can get Skyped in and give your testimony right here.
And remember, you can watch all the hearings online, and you can watch the debate and watch whatever we're doing online. And again, what works there is just, we can't underscore that. The technology is really great. We really do have some of the best technology in the state, as a state in the entire country. Other legislators are amazed at how much we do online. If you want to watch what really is going on, just because you can't come to Austin, it's there at your fingertips.
Yeah, start watching the floor 60 after those first 60 days. Otherwise, you're just going to see us milling around, shaking each other's hands. It's not very exciting.
And committees too, they'll start after the 60
I
days.
want to give one brief announcement. I want to make sure we get questions on this slide as well. We got roughly 25 minutes left in our discussion, so if we can start shortening our responses to about 1 minute each, that would be perfect to make sure we get everyone